Hello world, and thanks for joining me. My name is Mohit Deshpande, and in this course you'll be building a deep neural network. So we're going to be discussing and building neural networks, and we're going to use a library called TensorFlow to let us build and construct and train deep neural networks. So in particular, the task that we're going to be looking at is classifying handwritten digits, and this was kind of like one of the first earlier tasks of trying to use neural networks with images, and that's, if you're writing a letter or something and you have some kind of zip code, we want to identify what that zip code is. And so a good portion of that identification is actually going along with digit recognition. And so that's a problem that we're going to be working on. And in addition to working on this problem using TensorFlow, we're also going to be learning about TensorBoard, which is what's showing this beautiful visualization on the left. We're going to see these like beautiful loss curves and beautiful accuracy curves and all different kinds of things that you can view in TensorBoard. It's really, really awesome and a really useful tool, and we're also going to learn how to use it as well. So we're going to start by discussing kind of the smallest component of a neural network, which is a perceptron, or like a single kind of neuron. We're going to eventually kind of evolve that until we get the neurons that are used in deep neural networks today. And so we'll be discussing things like shallow networks and deep neural networks. What makes a neural network a deep neural network as opposed to a shallow neural network? So that's going to kind of be some background information on that as well. And then probably we're going to discuss the most important part of these deep neural networks, and that's how do you actually train these guys? And so in particular, we're going to be talking about gradient descent, and kind of a side project, kind of a topic that we use inside of gradient descent to train neural networks specifically is called backpropagation, or backpropagation of errors. So these seem like really big fancy words, but don't worry, we're going to explain it, and we're going to use lots of pictures and graphics to kind of explain this. And finally, the library that we're going to be using is called TensorFlow, which is kind of Google's machine learning library that's used in all sorts of different fields, and used in research, it's used in production, it's used for all kinds of things. So you'll be getting a lot of experience with TensorFlow and TensorBoard, which is kind of the component of TensorFlow that lets you visualize all this stuff. So you don't have to plot these curves manually. TensorBoard will give us really beautiful visualizations. And so we're also going to be learning how we can make those visualizations using TensorBoard, and it's super simple, and we'll be discussing all of this stuff. So we've been making courses since 2012, and we are super excited to have you on board. Online courses are a fantastic way to learn new skills, and I take a lot of these courses myself. Zenva courses consist mainly of video lessons that you can watch at your own pace and as many times as you want. We also have downloadable source code and project files, which have everything that we'll build in the lessons. It's really recommended that you code along with me while I'm explaining the code and going through the demo stuff, because in my experience, the best way to learn is to get your hands dirty. And lastly, we've seen that students who get the most out of these online courses are those who make a weekly plan and stick with it, depending on your own availability and learning style, of course. At Zenva, we've taught programming and game development to over 200,000 students through over 50 courses since 2012. Some of these students have used the skills that they've learned in these courses to advance their careers, to start a company, or to publish their own apps and games. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing all the cool stuff that you'll be building. Now, without further ado, let's get started.